are listening to the Chompcast, the one and only podcast of Sword Chomp. My name is Morgan Barnes, and I am joined by my longtime friends and fellow co-hosts today. Some quick hellos from the crew. Joshua Fowler.
Hey, everyone.
Shea Layton.
Ow!
Ow! And of course, Anthony Fisher.
You should have gone with the fish sound. It would have...
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Know your spirit animal. What the hell?
Fish sound, here we go.
That was better than I expected.
I was going to say, well, I don't know where he's going with this, but that was impressive.
It sounded like a magic carp flopping around. I almost said flarping. Flopping around.
We have an epic show for our listeners today. A decade in the making, so to speak, as we have two huge games with long, endless, almost 10-year development cycles. It was going to be 3 games, but before the show I had to chop off The Last Guardian. So that'll be a tease for next week. We'll have The Last Guardian. But Final Fantasy 15 and Owlboy are our headlining games. And then, of course, next week we'll check up on The Last Guardian. We also have some Call of Duty Infinite Warfare talk, tons of news from PSX 2016, and a crazy new loot law that's pretty fascinating. So you got to stick around to hear about it. So it's going to be an amazing show. Super excited to catch up with you guys all week. So let's do it. Let's catch up with the crew before we get into some games talk. See how everyone's been doing a little bit, warm up the vocal cords. Fish already kind of warmed him up with his crazy fish sounds. How you doing this week, Fish?
Oh, pretty good. Been relaxing quite a bit at the house. Just the usual working 9 to 5 type of shit. And but no, I've just been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 15 here and there, and hanging out with the family. Set up our Christmas tree.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, that's always fun. But other than that, yeah, it's been just a very non-eventful week for me, I guess, other than, following all the gaming news from the PSX.
Do you do the thing where you have like an ornament from like all these different parts of your life, and as you're like putting all the ornaments on your tree, you're just kind of like reflecting on all the years, or do you do anything like that?
No, my family never did that. I'm kind of regretful that we didn't do that. And I wasn't aware of it till I actually met you, Morgan, that people would put ornaments up there for every year of their life to kind of symbolize that year. It's kind of a nice tradition. I wish that we did it, but
it gives you a kind of a good and lighthearted reason to cry into your eggnog each year instead of the usual reasons of despair and loneliness.
You can never have too many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The awful year that 2016 has been. There will be lots of crying.
Yeah.
I know for my ornaments, I just keep all my used condoms and hang them from trees.
Man, those are some durable ass condoms you got after all these years.
I was gonna say Durex and try to do some commercials.
That was your segue for some brand placement.
Durex.
The new sponsor of the Chompcast.
Hang them on your Christmas trees.
Oh.
Have you been naughty this year?
Well, you're about to be.
Well, I'm glad to have you here today, Fish. And I guess on that note, Shea, I'm glad to have you here as well.
Are you?
We're always happy to have you here. Got to keep us on our toes. How have you been, my friend?
Been really good. I have sadly didn't get to delve into Final Fantasy. Just I figured for me, economically, I would rather spend my money on Christmas gifts for family and friends, and also I knew that if I got into that game, I would not be able to devote enough time because Dead Rising 4 has come out, Last Guardian has come out, and I'm more interested in those games. I will probably end up playing Final Fantasy 15 here in the short term, but just not right now. But other than that, I'm really, really super excited to talk about gaming this week. It's been a good week of gaming, a very surprising week of gaming. Just the 2 games I played, I was thoroughly impressed with. So I'm ready to discuss opinions with you guys. And
Yeah, excited. I'm excited to hear you and Josh talk about Owlboy, and I'm excited to get to spar with you a little bit about Call of Duty, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably, since No Man's Sky, our most divisive podcast.
Maybe. Only time will tell, but I like the build up. Let's hype it up. Let's overhype it.
Hype.
Most divisive podcast of 2016. Okay, glad to have you here, my friend. And Joshua Fowler, the one and only. How are you doing today, sir?
There's like at least two of me that I know of. That's, I mean,
not the one and only.
Yeah, I'll
the
take
10th and only.
Yeah.
I really didn't think you would take that so literally, and I'm like, where's Josh going? Fuck is he trying to throw me off?
That's all right. If you labeled him as the space cowboy, the cynical one, Joshua Fowler, then he'd be the one and only.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I only have so many labels for him: space cowboy, cynical one. We used to call him the Simon Cowell, and then it just, that's a dated reference. We can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Getting ready for Christmas here as well. Don't have a tree up this year because we have the baby who doesn't quite get not pulling down ornaments yet. So
ripping them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so that's we're waiting until the last minute to get that tree up, so we have to follow him around a little bit less than we would otherwise. So yeah, other than that, getting ready, shopping. All the other stuff, just no tree.
All the other shit. Mm-hmm. Man, those are good times. I remember that when my kid was young enough to just pull shit off the bottom because they're still at that really cute crawling around age, and it's good times because they just go by so fast, and it's good. I mean, I actually just moved into a new house myself, and we're gonna go get a tree this weekend, and we're hoping that kind of makes it feel more like home because I'm sure, as you guys know, like when you first move into a new house, it just feels weird. Like I'm actually podcasting for listeners that don't know this. I'm actually podcasting from a closet. But it was like a kind of a weird fantasy of mine that I wanted to have like a closet that I just devoted to doing podcasts in. I'm going to soundproof it and all that kind of stuff here shortly. But like our whole house, it's this really beautiful house. We just moved into it, but it doesn't feel like home yet. So kind of hoping that, you get the Christmas tree up and the presents and, the Christmassy stuff, and it starts to feel more like home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you scoot your ass across those wooden floors a few times, you'll know it's right at home.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's like
get your scent all over the place. So
exactly.
Yeah.
When you walk in, you'll be like, "Oh, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my house."
Fuck! I got 6 animals in my house right now. I've already claimed this goddamn place, so I don't even fucking know. But yeah,
I love animals, but not enough to have a farm and a house. It's excessive.
It's my next business venture, really.
Yeah, you get many more animals, and you're gonna have an animal farm situation going on. They're going to kick you out. So.
They can't kick me out of my house. I bought it. They can try. No, but I've been a lot of Final Fantasy for me this week. Personally, I have been really obsessed with that game. So I think it's a nice way to lead into it. I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts. I hope you do play it, Shea, before Game of the Year, whether or not it ends up being one of your games of the year or not. I would like to get your opinion on it.
Definitely.
Because, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying definitely. Yeah,
I mean, because it's a really strange, interesting thing. So I want to kind of get everyone's first impressions of the game first. Fish, I'll kind of throw it to you first. I mean, we have been Final Fantasy longtime brethren. I mean, our screen names used to be like Squall and Cipher, or Cypher, as kids say, going back to the day. So I mean, there's been Final Fantasy, Cypher.
Yeah. If you're from Boyston.
That Jersey accent in there.
Yeah.
I try to piss off my girlfriend because she was like, "What do you want to name our child?" I'm like, "It's a boy. I want to name it Cypher." She's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's a terrible fucking name." I'm working on it. I'm gonna have the worst kid name ever. Cypher. That's a horrible name, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are better bad guys to name your kid after. You can name him Hans Gruber or something.
Just Gruber.
Just Gruber.
Here, Gruber. But yeah, so Fish, long time Final Fantasy ever since I've known you, man. Going back to, you were the kid toting Final Fantasy VII around in your little backpack or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe.
That's true.
But
I can confirm that, yeah. I towed around my whole collection with me the whole time I went to school.
Middle school days, just toting it around. But yes, you've got a little time with Final Fantasy 15. So what were your first impressions of it?
Well, initially, like, there was no, like, real introduction to it. I guess it was just, like, very brief, like, so brief that it kind of threw me off to the point where I was like, what the fuck? This is weird. It's just automatically into the game without all this exposition from world building or character development. It's really just the king sending off the prince to go to his betrothed princess on another side of the continent, I guess, to help, I guess, in the political affairs of this world. And that's all you're given. And you head out with a bunch of your buddies, and you're in a car, and that's where the game starts. Is you're just driving down the highway, your car breaks down, you guys are pushing it along, and you get to the first town, and you meet up with some of the characters of the game. One being Sydney, which is a voluptuous blonde in the game who's a mechanic who likes working on cars. So she definitely turned me on quite a bit.
Oh, so you just went full creepy for Cindy, huh?
I did. Yeah, but
no. One of the dudes in the party is all about Cindy too. I can't remember which one it is, but every one of them, every time you pull up to her gas station, he's just talking about her.
Yeah, Prompto's got a thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the guys also like kind of joke about him, like
give him shit for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of. There's times where like you can go camping, and when you camp in this game, you can like set up a camp out in the desert after like hunting or grinding on enemies, and it just feels natural to like settle down and camp because there's like a day and night cycle that goes by, and I guess it's just a little something that gets you feeling a little bit more engrossed in the world, I would say. Like having that day and night cycle kind of like lets you manage your time a little bit, and you're gonna eventually stop grinding and to set up camp at nighttime because much larger enemies come out at night. I came across like this big iron giant that just one swiped my party, and like three of my whole group just pretty much was in danger. I was like, holy shit, I gotta get out of here. So like I try and avoid the nighttime wandering around the area.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Like the world. That I want to get your thoughts on that too, Josh, and your first impressions. But kind of going off what you're saying, Fish, those little touches like that where they're trying to get you to form like more of a bond with your party. Like you charge up experience until you stop and rest for the night, and then they kind of sit and they'll have a glass of coffee, and maybe they'll have a meal together, and they kind of chat. So there's a lot of cool things in the game that are not just in service of gameplay, but they're sort of in service of building the bond between these like four friends that seem to really like care about each other on this trip.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it shows like a little separate screen where you sit down like near an RV or something, and like you all are like playing a little phone game together, and it shows it, and it's kind of the screen where it shows you all the experience you get and how many AP points you get. And then after that screen, I think you could check out all the photos that Pronto has taken during that little period. Which is cool. I mean, it's different than any other Final Fantasy games out there. Like, it's just different. This game's very different than your traditional Final Fantasy, I think. And I kind of like it. It's almost like a breath of fresh air into the series that I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And what were you? I agree. What were you thinking, Josh, as far as like your first impression goes? I mean, you also someone I've known my entire life to kind of set it up for people. Huge Final Fantasy fan. I mean, I know you love the PlayStation 1 games.